Hello, everybody. This is Thea Wood with Herizon Music Foundation, and welcome to our first ever educational panel here on July 18th. It is 2:30 p.m. Eastern Time, and we are excited to introduce you to our panel of experts who are going to discuss with us attracting fans. Basically a holistic approach to growing your audience. And I'm going to take a few minutes to introduce our guests before we get started, as well as let everyone in the audience know that we are streaming live on Facebook, on LinkedIn, and on our YouTube channel. And these will be recorded so that you can come back and view them later if you maybe missed something in the notes or just want to share it with friends, which we, of course, encourage you to do. And also, just to give you an idea about our holistic approach to marketing or growing your audience as we're talking about it, we have three main ways that we are tackling this ever evolving method of trying to find people. And when we say holistic, that means that we are including internal, external, and systemic. And today we'll be starting with the external by Grace Lanni. I'm going to do a quick introduction. She is a professional musician. She's played out for many years with her husband. And she is also the executive producer of Giving Out Loud, which we are thrilled to have as a supporter of Herizon Music Foundation. She's also a board member of Herizon Music Foundation. And at South by Southwest, she revealed a film project that highlighted the challenges that women in music face. And I have to say, please go to herizonmusic.org and you will see the video featured on herizonmusic.org that she put together that really outlines what women in music are dealing with as far as post-pandemic climate, earning money, and the mental health and financial issues that they're facing at this time. Our social media coordinator is Bianca Garcia, and she will be posting links in the chat box. And right now, she posted the herizonmusic.org link so that you can see Grace's video. You don't have to do it now, but you can do it sometime when we're finished chatting. We also have Justin Foster here. Hi, Justin. He's the co-founder of Root and River. And as a speaker, Justin has spent 2 decades giving knowledge on branding strategies, which we're very excited to have him to tell us about. And let's see here. We've got Bianca, if you could please pop up Justin's information. And hi, Mandy Prater, we see you. Also, our third panelist that I'm very excited to introduce you to is Virginia Lacayo. Did I say it right? I did. Fantastic. Welcome, Virginia, with us. She is a mindset coach. She has a Ph.D. and is certified as a bilingual mindset coach. She's a social entrepreneur as well as a feminist activist who works to develop indomitable mindsets. So I can't wait to hear more about that. If you have questions during our event, please post them in the chat, and we will answer what we can at the end of the hour. We'll have a 10-15 minute QA session. And if we can't get to your question during that 10 or 15 minutes, please don't worry. Send an email to info@herizonmusic.org with your question, and we'll get back to you as soon as we can. Also, we encourage you to sign up for our newsletter. Why? Because all 3 of our panelists have kindly donated resources and tools and services to everyone who submits a request by sending in their email address. And we will send those to you after the event. The reason for this, because we want you to be able to walk away with a set of things, action items that you can take so that you can immediately start growing your audience, attracting fans. So, are we all ready? I hope so. I'm ready. All right. So first we're going to start with external, then we're going to go to systemic, and then we're going to go to the internal. And that means Grace Lanni is going to be kicking us off. And I want to ask the first thing. We were talking a lot about a major point being you are more than your art. And I think Grace speaks very well to this. And I want to ask you, what is the first thing that you'd recommend for artists to attract fans and monetize their art?
Well, the reality is that musician has to rely on a brand that people can find, that they can recognize, and ultimately be inspired by. Playing live and recording and making the music available on social media is a key part of the process. Experiencing your music is one way you connect with your fans. Your fans create a story from how that music makes them feel. And ideally, that's the brand. That's the key magic sauce. And from there, they decide if they're going to download that music. Are they going to get a ticket to a show? And ideally, they'll share that experience with their tribe. A musician is so focused on their art. You are perfecting your style, you're writing music, you're practicing and preparing for upcoming shows. And the reality is, building a fan base requires being accessible to those potential fans, creating a community aspect to your music, especially in the beginning. And it's up to you to reveal more of yourself to your fan base, more that they can resonate with and connect to you above and beyond your amazing music.
And Grace, you had some good examples for me of people who did that. Can you give a couple of examples so people understand where you're coming from?
Sure, absolutely. And the reality is you're more than your art, right? You started with that statement, Thea, and the reality is indeed a musician is so much more than their art. So, you asked for an example. Jewel Kilcher. She's an artist that came on the scene in the mid 90s with Pieces of You. She was doing the van life, being a barista, and playing. And she shared what those experiences did for her music, and the mindfulness practice she developed. Being able to manage being raised in bars because her family was in the music industry, and developing into the loving person she wanted to be. And as a result, she's now being interviewed on podcasts and in a documentary talking very openly about this mindfulness practice and how it's really healed her. One of her fans, I have this little quote here. Jewel has had such a profound impact on my life. In my 20s, her music, now in my 40s, listening to her thoughts and insights on life. She is my soul sister. I love her spirit and her authenticity. Now, this fan doesn't appear to have actually met Jewel. Her connection is beyond the beauty of her art. So she initially poured her story into her music, and as she healed, she found herself in a place to give to others. So she's now giving out loud, right? Her cause connects her very profoundly with her fans.
I love that. And, I think something to be said is that it shows your personality, and people buy into not just your art, but into you. And I see some feeds where women are posting these beautiful photos of themselves, but they're simply they're almost like glamour shots. It's like, okay, here I am sitting on a couch, or here I am doing this. I really like it when women are posting their activities. I am volunteering for a dog shelter, or I'm, this is my favorite food and this is why I love it. That type of thing. Is that kind of something that you would say is the way to go?
Absolutely. And it's not about sharing things you're uncomfortable sharing. It's about sharing the things that are going to really connect you with your audience. And authentic is a word that's used everywhere, but I think that's what we're going for here. We're trying to give your fans more ways to connect. Jewel is famous now. She wasn't always, right? She started sharing, and doing the Giving Out Loud process, sharing about herself authentically long before she ever got super famous. Sheryl Crow, right? She started really as a kid in a local bar, right? She got an opportunity to be on stage with Michael Jackson. I mean, not a lot of people know she was the girl on stage with Michael Jackson on his last tour. And, you know, she was diagnosed with breast cancer in '06 by way of a routine mammo. And at just 44 years old, she eventually had a lumpectomy and underwent radiation. And now at 59, she says her diagnosis has taught her a lot and shaped the way she practices self-care today. And her new documentary, oh my gosh, if you have not listened to her new documentary, watched it, it's reveals Sheryl Crow trusting one of her longtime managers to take her to the hospital for mental health treatment and why. You know, it's not easy being a musician. It's not easy going through the levels of uh, being connected with your fan base. So sometimes there's a little bit of challenge with that, right, Thea?
Yes, I agree. And, you know, and speaking in the mental health issue as well, I think that maybe Virginia might have something to add to that, and Justin, because certainly we know that 25% of women in music right now don't know where their next dollar is coming from. And that contributes to 33% now saying that they're in a mental health crisis. So yes, I would love to hear what Virginia and Justin might have to say about this type of communication externally.
Well, just a couple of comments very briefly about that. I think that we need to be more outspoken about neurodiversity and how we are different and our brain works differently, and that actually for the art that might provide some benefits in the sense that the way our brain works might spark creativities and talents and art that other people might not be capable of producing. And so vindicating that, saying like, yes, I'm dealing with some issues, and because I'm connected with myself and that part of me, I'm being able to tap into what those issues can provide me in terms of contributing to the art that I'm creating.
Right. And it's one more way to bring people together. Right, Justin?
Yeah, I see the artist as a diamond. When there's this integration between, mind, body, and soul, let's call it that what they're showing to the world is just which side of the diamond. And the more an artist is integrated and there's not these gaps, there's not the image and then the person and, on down the line, there's just one being, certainly on stage where you're a different person a little bit, but that's okay. That's expected. I think of Brandi Carlile as a great example of that, where her story and her own struggles and then her amazing music are all integrated into a single brand. I think the other thing besides the dollar, the financing or trying to make a living as an artist, I think that another factor here is that if you're not being your true self, it's really hard to believe in yourself. And so the mental health is essential. I see a therapist twice a month. I'm on Wellbutrin for ADHD. I meditate and all of that stuff. But I also think it's really important, especially as artists, is you have to take care of your soul, the part of you that is producing the art. And so I think this is part of the integration of voice. And Grace touched on this. There's your brand voice. That's what you're sharing with the world. As far as your brand, there's your music voice. We hear that term in music a lot. You have to find your voice or find your sound. And then there's the sound or voice of your soul. And when you get those three right, amazing things happen. And this is the thing, I'm very influenced by Stephen Pressfield on this, but if you felt inspired to create it, other people are looking for it. But if you stop believing that and you stop being consistent in your own care of self and your own care of your art, your own care of your instrument, which is not your voice or your hands entirely, it's your soul. That's when there starts to create this drift and the brand becomes fragmented and the voice becomes muted and that's where, cognitive dissonance and depression and those things kick in.
That's right. That's right. Absolutely. And obviously, we're talking about the external right here, but it all works together like that. And that's why we're going through this exercise. Before we talk about the systemic part, we're going to be moving on to Justin in just a minute. I have a quick question for Grace, which is, what are some immediate steps that female musicians can do today to jumpstart their external approach to attracting fans? And of course, that means money.
Yeah, great question. So I think number one, spend some time thinking about your fans. What do they love? What are they calling out that moves them about your music? And lean into that. Talk about it, share about it, and go ahead and email Thea, info@herizonmusic.org. There's a process, right? 7 steps to be able to elevate your brand while you impact your cause. So those are steps that are going to help you identify the right cause to talk about and how to share it.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And everybody, what we did is we put in the chat box where you can go to sign up for our all-female marketplace, which is another way that you can get your brand out there. We're getting ready to do a full launch on that. And when we do, we'll be promoting you to event hosts and event planners. So please do that, as well as email info@herizonmusic.org. When you do that, we sign up for our newsletter, and we will be sending you the tools and resources that Grace has put together. It's a pretty exciting challenge. So Grace, thank you for talking a little bit about that external method that people can jump on right now. Justin, you're up. Let's talk a little bit about the systemic approach, especially because a lot of our musicians are on a budget. How do we jump into that and see success in today's modern world?
Well, again, I've used this metaphor many times, so it's kind of fun to do it literally, talk with musicians, is that marketing is the amplifier. So I like to discern the difference between branding and marketing. Branding is the music, marketing is amplifying it. And so when we think in terms of working from a budget about that amplification, about getting the message, getting your music out there to the marketplace, I think there's a couple of fundamental tenets that are important to know. And the first one is you have to focus on just a couple of data points. No matter how confident you are in your brand, marketing yourself can be very overwhelming, regardless if you have a big budget or not. The process of marketing is exhausting and depleting because there's so many options. There's so many things you can do. You're swinging from TikTok to live streaming to meet and greets to in-store appearances. I mean, all of these various things, and it's just overwhelming. So pick a couple of key data points. For example, like number of followers or follower engagement. That's one. Or the size of your mailing list. That's another key engagement point. And when you focus on kind of that desired outcome of a couple of key data points, then you can start to structure your behaviors to best match that, your actions. The primary thing that you are that you're spending is what you give your attention to. You're not necessarily going to do a bunch of Instagram ads or billboards or whatever that like a big label artist might receive. Your main expense is what you give attention to. So the thing I remind artists of all kinds of artists is you want to pay for attention or pay for retention, not attention. So the time that you would spend interacting with your fans is better, has a higher return on investment, a higher ROI than trying to find new fans. And
I like that. Because we feel a lot of pressure with all these algorithms saying, oh, we're not going to show you to people because you're not advertising, or you know what I mean? They really work against you in a way to force you to advertise.
Yeah, if you got on, let's say Instagram, let's say you have a following there, and you got on Instagram and you did a weekly live Q&A, ask me anything, that's going to be far more effective at creating a following and creating some traction. And the traction is obviously streams, tickets, and merch. The big three. That's going to come through fan engagement a lot more, and you can automate that through live streaming, which is cool. You can reach more people. Plus, you can save the recording and use it in your marketing, as opposed to kind of that reality show feel, or that it feels a little bit shiny and plastic and not real, like overly staged. Grace talked about authenticity, and I 100% agree with that in any of your marketing.
Right. So we don't want to be overproduced.
Right. Yeah. Too much. Too much auto tuning of the marketing.
Yeah. Exactly.
As it were. So the last thing is you are your audience. Your audience is not some demographic. It really isn't. This 18 to 35. I think that's all bullshit now. The only predictable demographic are old people and Trump supporters. Those are predictable demographics. And I don't say that as a political statement. I say that as a demographic fact. So where do you start? You start with you. What resonates with you? When you're doing marketing, if your own bullshit detector goes off, then it's not going to play well with your fans or your potential fans. And there's a subset to all of this too, is never, ever, ever, when it comes to marketing, ask other people what they think, because we don't care. We want to know how they feel, but you'll find out how they feel by asking questions, as Grace said, or engaging with them on social media. So you see some musicians do this where they have like the album cover and you like this one or this one, and or a new logo or a new t-shirt. I don't like doing any of that stuff because it doesn't serve to the end that you are a brand and you are managing your brand and you're doing marketing according to the way that you want it to be done. One of my reminders to every brand of any sort is make the world react to you. Do not operate from a defensive position. And so go out and be you, just a little more consistently and a little louder, in the sense of amplification, not noise, and do that consistently. And it's not magical, but it's pretty damn close, the way that it starts to create the traction.
Thank you. You call this the humanistic approach. So we're looking at a humanistic approach using systems. So using your tools and resources to build a relationship and get together with people. And I think a prime example of that that I saw unfold during the pandemic is a musician named Jackie Venson. And she performed live, I'm not kidding, I think almost every single night on her Facebook feed. And her exponential growth that happened of what she calls her fans their JV squad. The JV squad just completely took off. And not only did she play, but anytime somebody mentioned her in a post and shared a post, she went through and thanked them for doing that every single time. And she had it set up where if she thanks them, the notification showed up on my feed. So I knew she was thanking them. Right. I think it's really important to make sure that people are recognized for their support and sharing as well. Virginia and Grace, do you have anything that you would like to add to this part of the discussion?
Well, I think he's on point, right? I love that you identify the brand as the music and elevating the brand as the amplification. I think that'll really resonate with the folks that are listening today. And, the example of Jackie, Thea, that you gave, that is spot on. That's just, okay, I'm gonna do this thing. I'm gonna commit to it and I'm gonna be consistent. So that consistency, believe it or not, over time gets you so much more than doing 25 things all in one day and then going silent.
Yep. Absolutely. Virginia?
I think that Justin started saying marketing can be exhausting and overwhelming. And it's mostly because there are so many options and so many shoulds. Like you should do this, you should be on TikTok, you should do the dancing, you should do if you want to create fans. And that creates a lot of cognitive dissonance and a lot of conflict inside between who I really am and what I like and what, who is the authentic me versus that persona that I'm supposed to become in order to attract fans that at the end are not there because they like me, are there because they like who I'm pretending to be for them. And so that's I'm gonna talk a little bit more about that cognitive dissonance and what it means. But I think that the most important thing to highlight in this case is that marketing can be perceived overwhelming and exhausting because they have many options, because there are many options, many ways to approach and connect and interact with your audience. That doesn't mean that is overwhelming. It means that you have options and you have the choice to decide that it's not overwhelming, it's just many options. And then you get to choose what options are the ones that resonate more with you and with your audience that are you, another version of you, and then focus on what feels real and feels natural for you and feels authentic and feels that you create that really deep connection that you're seeking for and that they are seeking for too.
And I think that's important to say that the people who are watching you are seeking. I mean, that's what we're all trying to do, is get that connection. And so for this humanistic marketing approach, where we're using our tools and resources in that way, Justin has kindly offered to send people who contact us a sheet that has a really good step-by-step approach on how to start all of this. So please, when you have a chance, if you're not doing it right this second, please send us your email address, info@herizonmusic.org. You can do it there. You can also sign up for our all-female marketplace, Random Acts of Music. And at Random Acts of Music, all of our female musicians and DJs will get a copy of this, because that is part of the perks of becoming a Random Acts of Music member and supporting Herizon Music. Let's see here. Moving on, I just wanted to take a few minutes to talk about Herizon Music Foundation itself before we get into the next section. And I'd like to thank, first of all, to everyone who's a donor. These education panels that we're beginning to ramp up, and Random Acts of Music, and our podcast, Backstage Chats with Women in Music, are all made possible because of donations. And it's because of folks like you that Women in Music are getting the tools, the resources, and avenues to get their voices heard, because music industry is a very male-dominated industry, and only through equal opportunity can we experience merit-based success. So thank you, donors, and we appreciate you. And please go to herizonmusic.org today to donate if you are so moved to do so, because we would love to hear from you and get additional support. Let's see here. We've also got, I've said so much all at once. Oh, with Random Acts of Music, one of the things that I wanted to make sure of is that everybody's aware we never charge artists for listing their profiles in our online booking service / marketplace. So while we will take on the burden, if you will, of marketing and reaching out to event hosts and planners as much as we can for you all, we do not charge you to list. We never will. So musicians, whether you're solo, duo, a full band, or a DJ, please upload your profile. You can upload multiple profiles if you have multiple acts that you perform in. We welcome that, and we welcome you. And we will do our best to support you. Once we get 100 profiles listed, we are going to start heavily talking to hosts and host planners. So go to herizonmusic.org/RAM for that. And Bianca, of course, is busy putting all of these things into our chat box, so you can click on things in our chat box. Okay, next, Virginia. Let's talk about the internal. And you started to move into that in the last section when we were following up with Justin. Again, everybody, Virginia is a mindset coach. And one of the things that really grabbed my attention with her was when she started talking about the untamed mind. And I was like, I need to hear about the Untamed Mind because this sounds fun. So, so let us know what this is and what the approach is for attracting fans.
Well, I think that is, in this case, it's important to highlight that when we are trying to show up out there, show up in the world and share our values and share our talents, a lot of things happen at the same time for us. I mean, Grace was talking about how important it is to be vulnerable and to just put yourself out there. That's scary. And Justin was talking about how overwhelming is all the options that we have and all the shoulds and we're bombarding about all the things that we should be doing if we want to be successful. And when I talk about to artists and entrepreneurs in general, I said that it's very important to distinguish two things. For everything you want to do, for everything you want to create in the world, there are two main pillars. There's the math and there is the drama. And the math is all the things that they house to, like how do I build my website? How do I make a reel? How do I learn how to play the guitar if I want to play the guitar? How to learn better techniques? That's the math. Those are things that you can learn through books. You can Google them. You can find mentors. You can go to school. That is, we focus too much on that part, but it's actually the easiest part. The other pillar is the drama. And the drama is all the stories that we create in our heads about the math and about ourselves and about what if and about what's going to happen and about the results that we have. And the drama, which is the mind and the power of the mind has the power, is the only thing, really, think about it, is the only thing that can create problems for us. But it's also the only thing in the world capable of solving problems for us. So when we are saying, okay, I'm ready to show my value and to put myself out there, I need to think about what do I need to know and what do I need to master and the skills that I need to develop and all that. Okay, that's doable. I can figure it out. I can have someone to teach me that. But then we need to pay attention to the drama. And usually we don't pay attention to the drama, to the brain, to where our mind is going to do. And this is what's going to happen. This is how the brain works. Your brain is designed from the time of the caves, is designed to do whatever it takes to keep you alive. As simple as that. So how it keeps you alive? You have three missions. One is to avoid pain. And that means either real pain, like a dinosaur eating you, or imaginary pain, like what if I bomb? What if nobody laugh at my joke? What if nobody likes my music? What if I get humiliated on the stage? That is a perceived risk of pain that your brain is going to try to avoid no matter what. The second one, based on survival instincts, is to seek pleasure. And seek pleasure can feel that something can be seen as something like, I'd rather stay home watching Netflix, or I'd rather, just stay with my friends, or buffering with alcohol or, weed or whatever, just because that feels good. That doesn't feel, that helped me to avoid the pain that I'm supposed to feel if I put myself out there, if I become vulnerable, if I start trying new things, if I do things that I never do. And the third thing that the brain will try to do no matter what is to avoid effort, to do the minimal effort. Because back then in the cave, we need to save energy. We eat today and we didn't know when we're going to eat again. So let's save energy. And everything you want to do, everything that you want to do to be successful, to share your values, to share your art, it will require effort. It will require taking risk, and it will be required to postpone immediate rewards and immediate pleasure, right? Because at the end, you're gonna get way more benefits and pleasure, but it's not gonna maybe it's not gonna be immediate. So you have to fight. You have to work against your instinctive brain to do what you want to do. So how we do that? This is the most important lesson. No matter what you're doing, this is the most important lesson. You have to understand that your brain is going to try to sabotage you. And that is normal. That is its mission, is keeping you alive. And your role is to say, thank you for keeping me alive so far. Now I'm in charge. I'm going to take care of this. I'm going to take over. I'm going to make decisions that are going to be difficult. And I'm going to manage my mind. I'm going to understand how my mind works. I'm going to manage my mind so I overcome those instinctive first reactions, and I'm going to do what I need to get done in order to get the result that I want to get, which is everything that we want. So
and Virginia, I just want to say, I think that feeding that part of your mind that is trying to protect you are the get rich quick, the get fans fast, the everything that social media promises. And so we all feel, and I've been there, I understand this, is we all feel like failures if we are around for 2 years and we don't have 5,000 followers or 10,000 followers. Yeah. So what is something that maybe an artist can do to combat that feeling?
Well, the first one is to identify that there are just thoughts. And thoughts are just that. They're just ideas. They're just phrases in our head. I should be successful by now. I should be somewhere else in my life by now. I should have this by now. Or I'm a failure. I have the fraud, the imposter syndrome. I'm not enough. All those thoughts are just thoughts, but they're powerful. And I'm going to tell you why they're powerful. Because we believe them. We don't see that they're just thought, that our brain is producing 70,000 thoughts per day. How many of them do you remember, Thea?
Mm-hmm. How many thoughts? Not that many.
No, you're going to tell
me.
But
usually the ones that have some kind of a huge impact on me, and it's either great joy or great distress.
You will remember those, of course, and I'm going to tell you why. And you will remember those that have a big impact, and especially emotional impact, because you feel a lot of pain thinking about them, or you feel a lot of joy thinking about them. And those are the ones that you remember. Or you remember the ones that are so ingrained because you have repeated yourself those thoughts over and over and over again that they're all the time present. They're always there. The imposter syndrome, their not enoughness, they're always there. So you remember those, but not the other 69,000, blah, 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 something, right?
Right.
This is what happened. We have thoughts in our brain. We are unaware that they're just thoughts. They're just phrases. One of the 70,000 that we have every day. But one thought, let's say that I should, or this is, I was embarrassed. I'm not enough. That thought because we believe it's true, will create an emotion. The emotion of, let's say, shame or not enoughness or insufficiency, whatever, like fear, embarrassment. That emotion is so strong, is so uncomfortable in our body. We feel in our body. When we are, let's say, we said, okay, I need to create a social media account and I'm gonna start posting reels, and I start panicking because my brain is producing ideas. Remember that my brain is trying to avoid risk, and my brain is like, it's going to be horrible. You're going to make a fool of yourself. You're going to look horrible. You're going to look old. You're too old for that. Those thoughts, if I believe them, and I will believe them because I'm not aware that they're just thoughts, then it's going to create the feeling of shame. And that feeling is so intense in our body. Where do you feel shame? I feel it in the, at the top of my stomach. My hands sweat. I start, my heart is racing or whatever. Those sensations that we call emotions are so uncomfortable that our brain wants to get rid of them. And the best way to get rid of them is like, I'm just not going to do what is creating this, meaning I'm not going to do the reels. I'm not going to show up. I'm not going to book open mic opportunity. I'm not going to do that because I don't want to feel this.
So I have to say, and it's funny that you brought this all up, because I was talking to Justin. I'm going to bring him up. I was talking to Justin before we started today, and I said, oh, I just finished writing all my affirmations. And there's a list of like 10 different things I told myself that are positive about how this stream is going to go and how great you guys were going to be. And, all the things that this is how it's all going to turn out. And let me tell you, it's a confidence booster. Then you go into something like this where we're live, any kind of mistake or blooper can happen, and it's okay. I feel like we can handle it, and we're having a really good conversation. Justin, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Virginia. Do you have something else?
You know why they work, those affirmations?
Please tell.
Because you believe them. Because if I have low self-esteem issues, I can see myself in the mirror and saying, I miss universe, I miss universe, I miss universe, or like, whatever. And if I don't believe it, I can repeat that every day for 10 years and I'm still not going to feel better.
You got to feel, you got to believe it.
You have to find the thoughts in your brain, and you have to even create thoughts in your brain that are true to you, for you to generate the kind of emotions that will drive the right actions for you to get the right results. So for instance, Justin mentioned something, a thought, and this is a thought that I will offer to all of you. He said, well, it's not Justin's quote, but he mentioned it. He said, if I'm being called to create this, it means somebody's seeking for it.
Yes.
If you believe that, think about it. If you believe, well, if I'm being called to create this, means somebody else needs this. Somebody else is seeking for this. If I can believe that's true, that's very empowering, because it's not about how good I am, how perfect I am, if I'm good enough, good looking enough or anything. It's like somebody needs what I have to provide, and my only job is to create it.
And I have to say, that appeals to my people pleaser side, right? Because I tend to be a people pleaser. Justin, what did you have to say about that?
Well, I think it's indisputable, really, that your mindset determines how you market. If you want to nerd out over this, you can look. There's something called ontological structures. It's basically your intentions create your mindset, which creates your emotions, which create your behaviors, which create your results. So if you're not getting the results you want, it's probably not a tactical thing. If you believe in what you're doing and you're consistent in it, you could have cardboard signs and that would work. It goes further back to self-belief and intention, and especially related to two things. One is a scarcity mindset. And scarcity mindset, marketing under scarcity mindset produces scarcity style marketing. You start to, you become very promotional. That's why I think the starting point for all marketing is to learn how to be an awesome, consistent storyteller, not an awesome, consistent promoter. Promoting is expected. Storytelling is not a commodity. And the second part of this mindset and how your mindset determines how you market is, if you're trying to use marketing for validation of your worth, you will chase that to the end of your days, waiting for the market to tell you that you're okay. You need to be okay with you, and then certainly have a group of people around you that love you unconditionally, but don't rely on your fans to tell you that you have great music or you're a person of value. That only you can do that. Only you can deal with your own inner shit. Only you can do that. You can get outside help, but you have to do it yourself.
Exactly. And then you look at people like Billie Eilish, who, she said she wore particular clothes so that nobody would comment on her body. And then when she finally changed her image and was like, okay, I'm going to reveal some of my body, people were not satisfied the first time. And then she changed her image and people weren't satisfied the next time. So it's like, there are always going to be the naysayers, and we have to separate that from our self-worth and what we're contributing to the people who do love what we're putting out there. Grace is a musician and obviously the external person. What do you have to add to that part of the discussion?
Just this weekend, I received a photo of myself and an award-winning jazz band that I was in 10th grade in high school. Okay, so this is like rewinding tape back a million years. And those people in that band and the conversations that erupted from that, do you remember when, right? We were afraid to go on stage. Do you remember when we were wondering if we were going to go to college or we were going to go on tour? Do you remember when?
Yep.
Right? I think Virginia nailed it, right? The thoughts are going and they're never stopping. And what we get to do is decide the belief train that we're going to ride and do that. Thea, I just love that you're writing down and making a list of the things that really matter to you, because that's what you focus on is where you go. If you're focusing on what's wrong, that's where you're going to go. If you focus on what you want and the upside, I think that's what's possible, So I imagine there's going to be some young musicians watching this and they're thinking, oh my gosh, what am I going to do? And I would say, just keep going. Just keep going and having a great time. I think
that's right. And not just the young musicians, but the older musicians who are just starting their careers. I mean, there are a lot of people who've done career shifts or who were local or had kids and now they're getting back into the game. I mean, young doesn't necessarily mean age. It could be young in the industry. And, we know how that goes. So Virginia, just so everybody knows, Virginia has also created a fantastic one sheet for us that has some questions and process to get you through the process of starting on your untamed mindset. And so we hope that you will email info@herizonmusic.org to obtain your copy, or go to, as we said, our all-female musician marketplace, herizonmusic.org/RAM, and click where it says for artists to get started so that you can set up your profile, which is all part of what this is talking about as far as attracting fans and getting, this is great practice. Set up your profiles in our marketplace and get that going. So Virginia and Justin and Grace, thank you for providing these outside tools. Grace has a link to a really cool 7-day challenge that she's going to provide for people who get in contact with us. So thank you all three for that. Let's see. I would like to. We've hit our time where we're opening up to anybody who might have questions for us in the comments. And let's see here, Bianca. I think you can hear me. I was going to say, if you have any questions that someone had, or if we had somebody else listening who would like to ask one, please do so now. I know that I always have questions. One of the things that really has been kind of big for me with Herizon Music Foundation in getting ready to open up this marketplace is attracting musicians, right? So while musicians are trying to attract fans, I'm trying to attract musicians. And so, my thought is what is the outreach? Like if you say, okay, build it and they will come. That doesn't really work so well. What's one thing that each of you, like a short answer of what each of you would say, Thea, this is what you would do to go find your tribe or the people who you're looking for? I'll start with Virginia.
Well, as a good coach, my answer is always a question. What do you think is the good place? What is the place that you will go if you want to connect with a community like this?
God, I love it. All right, turn that back around on me. How about you, Grace?
Well, I think you were brilliant when you launched Herizon Music Foundation. You also launched a podcast. And so having Random Acts of Music as almost like its own sponsorship conversation in the middle of the podcast would be a great idea. And asking those guests to share and get on as one of the musicians or the providers on on Random Acts of Music, I think that's a great connection point.
There you go. So making sure that in your communications with your audience that you're making sure that you mention what you'd like them to do as an action item. Okay, Justin?
Yeah, Thea, I would consider, this is more brand related than marketing, but they're connected, is refining or honing your message a little bit more, so it's beyond just the what you're doing to the deeper mission, the deeper intent, because ultimately you're using marketing to invite people, not manipulate them. That's, when we talk about humanistic marketing, it's an invitation, not a manipulation. And the way to do that is through provocative language, or what I call brand poetry. And you do that through talking about the vision you have for the future. And if you're familiar with Joseph Campbell's hero's journey model, you are the mentor in the story. The elixir is your platform, the Herizon Music platform. The hero is the musician. So when you hone your message and you say, this is the kind of people, kind of women, artists I'm looking for, and you profile them and you say, this is a great example of who I'm looking for, and you hone that message, and then you go out and be consistent with it, I think then you're going to continue to see continued growth and success and momentum out there.
Awesome. Well, thank you. Yes, that was good. Let's see if we have any other comments or questions. Not at this time. Well, then I'm going to keep going because all of this is very helpful for me. So basically, I know that a lot of times artists are talking about merchandise. And when we talk about how we want to portray ourselves in logos and our visual brands that way, do we have, each of you have maybe one piece of advice that you could give to our musicians in considering that? Because I know some people, it's just their name. Sometimes there's, a graphic to go with it. Oh, wait, hold on. I don't want to miss this. We do have a question, and I want to get other people before I do mine. What inspires you when you are feeling discouraged? And Justin, we're going to start with you on this one.
Well, that's a great question. I've been doing a lot of work on myself over the last couple of years, and interesting question timing-wise, because discouragement is one of the most difficult emotions for me to deal with, to be vulnerable and transparent about that. And I think the key to it, though, is stillness. It's just stop. Stopping is a strategy. Usually discouragement is can be a sign of burnout. As a dude, the impulse is to just keep banging away at it until you get it right. And that doesn't work either. So stopping and practicing a little bit of stillness and seeing what 30 seconds or 30 minutes can do.
Love it.
And I think that's the place I have to go back to, because what I need to get to, and I would say this to anybody that's a creative, is when you get discouraged or you get knocked off center, is you have to just get to 1%, a little bit of just 1% of curiosity. So you can observe your own thoughts and behaviors and go, oh, isn't that curious? Look what I do. Yeah. When things are going well, or I get a bad review, or I messed up on a song, look at what happens. And you can look back and then if you can laugh, then you're good. And then you could be discouraged knowing it's just temporary.
Absolutely. Thank you. How about you, Grace? Yes, I'm a fan of the stillness component. And I would say when stuff gets really challenging and I'm super discouraged, I call my coach. I mean, talking through it for me, I don't know if it's because I'm a woman. I don't know if it's because of, my human design. I have no idea why that's the case. But very often when I talk through it all, by the time it's over, it's like it's over, right? It's time to figure out what's next.
I love it. Yes, that is good. All right. So go to your strongest confidant and support system. How about you, Virginia?
Well, it's a little bit in that line. I mean, when you are discouraged because you're thinking of something is going wrong, something went wrong, and it might not be true. What if it's not true? So what I do is I go to my coach too, or I just put my coach hat and I ask myself like those questions is, what am I thinking that create this feeling of discouragement? What I'm thinking went wrong, what I'm thinking about myself, what I'm thinking about my art, what I'm thinking about this situation, and what am I making it mean about myself or about my project? And then I question the thoughts. I ask myself, is this true? Let's say that I'm discouraged because, I had a contract and they canceled at the end. That means that I'm not good enough. And then I hold on that thought and say, like, is that true? It's really true that I'm not enough, that I'm not good enough. And my brain will say, like, well, it's true. But then I ask again, is 100% true? Can I prove it? Can be proven in court that I'm not good enough? And if the answer is no, then I do what Justin said. I get curious. It's like, what am I thinking this? And if thoughts are options, what else is also true?
Exactly.
That can help me to balance this, to give me a different perspective. What else is also true? Like this contract was canceled because of COVID, but this contract is still going on. And actually I had a standing ovation there.
Yeah.
So that's
and a lot of times we make it about us when it has nothing else to do with us. It could be that they ran out of a budget, or there was a death in the family, or we don't know. We tend to get inside our heads and make it about us. And of course that can end up going downhill really fast. Exactly. Well, we're about ready here to wrap it up. The first thing I would like to say is thank you to our three panelists. We had Grace Lanni of GivingOutLoud and All About That Brand. Appreciate you sharing some of the external storytelling and connecting with people through, your values and causes and life experiences. I think that's amazing. Justin, I appreciate you from Root and River coming to us and talking to us about the more humanistic ways of connecting using the tools and resources. It's not like, oh, we can't use these. We can actually use technology and outreach to further connect with people in a better way and on a budget, because we're not saying you have to advertise and promote in those ways. We're saying just put yourself out there. And then Virginia Lacayo, thank you so much for helping us with our Untamed Minds and that little voice in your head that can steer you in the wrong direction, but also how we can control it and put it in the right direction. Just as a reminder to everyone, we will have bonus tools and handouts and challenges that we are going to be emailing to all of our musicians who are in our marketplace, Random Acts Music, as well as anyone who signs up by emailing us at info@herizonmusic.org and just ask for your bonus docs and tools, and we'll make sure we hand that off to you. Everyone, this is Thea Wood with Herizon Music Foundation. I'm your host, and I am so appreciative of everyone who participated today and who will participate or view this video down the road. And while I'm at it, I'm going to do my shameless plug. We are selling limited edition Herizon Music hats. They're trucker hats. I've got some pins on mine that I've already put on. These were a huge hit at South by Southwest this year for our booth volunteers. And we even had one guy offer us $75 to buy one of our volunteer hats. So we were like, maybe we need to start selling these. So we are doing it as a limited edition now through August 2nd. We would love for you to pick one up. And again, proceeds go toward amazing panel discussions, the podcast, the Random Acts Music Marketplace, everything that we have in our education, experience, and role modeling programs to uplift the next generation of women in music. So thank you all so much. I hope you have a great day. We wrapped up on time, which is awesome. And I cannot wait. I hope to invite you all back in the future.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye, Grace. Bye, Justin. Bye, Virginia.
Bye-bye.
Thanks, everybody.
Yeah.